Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We were still discussing this lengthy hadith in which Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned several of the fitan that will plague this ummah. The one we're discussing was Duhai Ma'u. It was called Duhai Ma'u. And we said that the ulama, and in particular Shah Waliullah Muhaddith Dehlawi, he identified this as the ransacking of Baghdad, the ransacking of Baghdad. And as I said, as we go through the details here, we will see, inshallah, that even what we see today is even a picnic compared to what had happened. So Baghdad in the 7th century, which is the 7th century, it was the largest city in the world. It was the most prosperous, most advanced. That time America wasn't even found. America was not found. And Europe was still in the dark ages. The two centers that were flourishing was Baghdad, which was the capital of the Muslim world. That was of the Abbasid dynasty. And then in Spain, Andalusia, you had the Umayyad dynasty. Remember the Abbasids, they removed, that's an interesting story also, how the Abbasids invited all the royalty of the Umayyads and they killed them all. And one of the princes managed to escape. He crossed the river and he went and he made his way to Africa. And Islam had just come into Spain that time. So he was, what was his name? Abdul Rahman al-Dakhil is called. Yeah, that's also very interesting history. Then he made his way into Spain. I have all those books in his house. I can't even bother to even to read it. He made his way in, and there he established a Muslim sultanate. It was also prospered for many hundreds of years until there was again a degeneration. But anyway, so then that's how the Abbasids removed the Umayyads. Remember, after Khulafa al-Rashidin was who was the Umayyads, and after the Umayyads was the Abbasids. So the Abbasids flourished for many, many years. And this is what they grew. They grew this huge Muslim empire, and this was the seat of the Muslim empire, which was Baghdad, and many libraries, hospitals, Moulana. So it was a beautiful, and at the same time, the Mughals, Genghis Khan, they were rising and they were growing and they were conquering all of that area. And then within the Muslim, you had the Shia Rafidi, we named his name was Al-Qama. And his whole idea was that he thought he can unseat the Muslims from this and he can replace them with the. So this is the old tactic of the Shias, that they always try to pit the Sunnis against the Kuffar to further their own agendas. So anyway, we reached this point here where we discussed where they surrounded Baghdad, and then until this, it was mentioned, Mu'tasim, he was, one is where a person is appointed because of his astuteness. A person, when you appoint a leader, when you appoint a person in charge, he must be appointed based on merit. This is the Islamic system. That merit means based upon his expediency, and you call it in English meritocracy. What you call it? Meritocracy. You put a person in power based upon his knowledge, based on his expediency. That is why when it was said about Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, somebody asked him, this your leader, Umar, what about him? Say, La yakhda'u. He does not deceive. So what does it mean, does not deceive? It means if you don't deceive other people, even you can deceive them, it means you're a God-fearing person. It means you are a God-fearing person. So we say, La yakhda'u, he does not deceive. That means he's a God-fearing person. Because only a God-fearing person, you can fool somebody, you can rob somebody, but you won't rob them. What does it mean? You're God-fearing. That's what I'm saying. And la yukhda'u, he's not deceived. So in order not to be deceived, what must you be? You must be sharp. Even if you're a pious person, you're God-fearing people, but people can still take advantage of you. People can still take advantage of you. Like there's one scholar from India, Idris Khan Delvi, he wrote a famous book it's called Sirat Mustafa. So he say he was a simple person with regards to the dunya things. He was a simple person with regards to, he wrote many books, but his son every week used to come and collect money for petrol money for his bicycle from him. Petrol money for his bicycle. So he was a simple person with regards to the dunya things. So as Umar, you say, La yakhda'u, he won't deceive. That means the God-fearing man. La yukhda'u, that means he's sharp. So you need the two things. You need to be God-fearing and you need to be sharp. You need to be smart. Then you can make a good leader. So if you got the most pious person, that doesn't mean he's going to be a good leader because people will fool you. Or if a person is maybe very sharp, is intelligent, that doesn't mean right. And he doesn't have the fear of Allah Ta'ala. That means he will be brutal, he will be cruel, he will kill innocent people. Like I told you, Hajjaj bin Yusuf al-Thaqafi, he was very sharp, he was very astute, etc. You know, he wanted to win the favor of his masters, the rulers of the. So he was brutal, he killed people. So you have to have a balance of both. If you are too sharp, you don't see Allah Ta'ala, then you're gonna then you do anything to achieve your agenda. You'll that's right. And then on the contrary, if you also you're only pious, but you're not sharp, people will take advantage of you. So you need an equal measure, you need an equal dose of both to be an astute. So I was telling you, this person here, Mu'tasim Billah, was the last ruler of the Abbasid empire here in Baghdad. He was also very a nice person. So I'll tell you what is meritocracy. Meritocracy in Islam, you have the right system of rulership is what you have. You have a Khalifa. There's no democracy. People don't elect a ruler, right? You have a Khalifa that is elected by the real Khalifa. And obviously the idea is that the Khalifa must elect the next Khalifa based on merit, not because he's your son or he's your family member. You're gonna keep it in the family. He must choose a Khalifa based on the fact that he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he must choose a Khalifa based on the fact that he's also sharp. He's not stupid. People mustn't take him for a ride. لا يخدع ولا يخدع. So that is what is meritocracy, which is an English word, but obviously it also supports the. Then you get meritocracy. That's where you say you appoint a person. Then the other word is kakistocracy. It's also a word where the most useless people appointed to positions of leadership. They're appointed to positions of trust. That's called kakistocracy. Not useless people, like how you get in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, that's why the country can't go forward. When you get the most useless people that are appointed. Anyway, so this Mu'tasim Billah, he wasn't a very sharp person. He wasn't a very, like how we say in English, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. So Mu'tasim Billah, when Halaku Khan came and he surrounded Baghdad, so this person, Al-Qama, he convinced him and he said, look here, the correct way is you must go out and meet the ruler. Like they've come, you don't let him come in. So see, first mistake, he's leaving the protection of his city. He's leaving the protection of his soldiers. So if you go out and you meet them, and you show your willingness to meet them, then they're going to honor you, they're going to consider you. And also, you must go alone. Don't go with any protection. Don't take any with you. So he, as I said, he was a simple mild person. Maybe he only came to that position because it was in the family, and he went there. He went alone out of the town, and he went out of the town alone, and totally vulnerable and exposed. So then he was captured, and he was told, he was instructed that you tell all the people of the town now that they must lay down your arms and they must come back, right? So as he was, so now you see when you are over impressed with the, you loved your life only for the dunya, you made no preparations for the akhirah, then you are afraid to die. Then you are afraid to die. So you do everything to save your life. You do everything to save your life because you know preparations for the akhirah. But if you lived your life according to the Sharia and you lived as though you are going to die, then you don't fear death. So if a person lived his whole life only enjoying the dunya, He made no preparation for the akhirat. So you'll be so scared of that. So when you tell your people to lay down their arms, tell them to come out, etc. Then he done exactly that. He done exactly that. And he was obviously he was making himself more vulnerable to the enemies of the state. So all the soldiers came out, they laid down their arms, and as they came out, they were martyred and they were massacred by Halaku Khan. It mentions here that the rivers of blood was flowing. The rivers even turned red with the blood. And like this, they entered the Muslim capital without any problem. It's mentioned that they say, like, if a soldier, even a female soldiers from the Mughals, if they saw a Muslim, they say, wait here, I'm coming now, I'm going to come and kill you, wait here. That woman soldier would go fetch the sword and come and kill that person, and the person just wait there. They were so paralyzed with fear. They were so paralyzed with fear. So here it mentioned women, children, all thousands, hundreds of thousands were killed. Quran was desecrated. Here it's mentioned that even what happened is when they entered the city, the Muslims took the Quran and they put it on their heads and they said, we beseech you in the name of the Quran, do not kill us, we are innocent people. But this was even not considered. They were massacred, they were killed. They didn't give any amnesty, like, the protocols from Islamic point of view, that you won't kill a woman, you won't kill a child, you won't kill a non-combatant, you won't kill a priest, you won't kill a rabbi in the church, none of that. Certain people, they hide away, they were saved, but other than that, thousands, hundreds of thousands were killed. So this was the year 652. They went into Baghdad and they began looting all the riches, all the gold, the silver, everything. And then they imprisoned the Khalifa, the Mu'tasim Billah, in what we say in English, solitary confinement. They put him in a cold, dark room. And then the same person, I told you, Halaku and Tusi, they mentioned a unique thing. They said that, look here, because I told you, the Shias, they hate the Sunnis, right? They told him that you must not defile your sword with the blood of the Muslims. What you must do is you must wrap him up in a carpet, and you don't hit him directly. You beat the carpet. So imagine this was now the trusted minister of the king. He's telling this. So Halaku Khan said, okay, you must do it. And like this, the Mu'tasim Billah was wrapped in the carpet and he was beaten, he was pulverized, he was beaten. So much hatred he had for the Sunnis. And after that, it's mentioned that they made the horses of the enemy ride over this thing. So his body was totally pulverized. And here, this Alqama, he was getting happy because he was in his mind now that once the Sunnis are removed, the Shias will take over. So this was the last ruler of the Abbasids. So remember, I told you, remember Nabi Sallallahu Khulafa Rashidin was the Umayyads, and I told you the story of the Abbasids, how the Abbasids killed the Umayyads and the one prince. Now, this was the end of the Abbasids. After this, the Abbasids was finished. And remember, Baghdad was the capital of the Imam Hanifa came from Baghdad. He came from those areas. So these were all Hanafis. They say thousands and thousands of kitabs, libraries. Many of the Hanafi books that we could have benefited from today, it was destroyed at this point in time. To such an extent, it's mentioned the Dajla River. Remember, like now you don't have computer print. In those days, you used to write, you should dip into the ink. Then you write, so that means the ink was washable away. You could wash the ink away because it was handwritten. That is why when the ulama speak about, like when you got Quran pages, the first thing to do is, like if you want to dispose of a Quran page, the best thing to do is to wash the ink out. And the ink is gone, right? But with today's, you can't wash the ink out because this is computer printed or whatever print. So The river Dajla was actually black with the ink of all the books. And most of this was Hanafi books, right? So first the river was red. First the river was red with the blood of the Muslims. And now the river was black with the ink of the Kitabs. And I told you this was a Hanafi seat. A lot of Hanafi books, because there's some thousands of books. See, for after that, for months, days and months, the pages of the books were flowing. And remember, Kitabs back then was a variable commodity. It was handwritten. There wasn't printing press. So for days and days, all the Hanafi books were floating on the river. Here it says in the Kitab, I was telling you, it says here that approximately 1,600,000 people was killed in this. 1,600,000 was killed. And you must have heard about the famous traveler Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta. He used to travel, I think it was, he used to travel throughout the Muslim world. He went to all the different countries of the world and he used to write about his travels. So he says that when he saw this, he was, wherever you looked, he was only dead people, and this was the capital of the Muslim world. He thought in his mind that there's no need to write this down. Why? Because this is the end of the Muslims. Finished. It had such a, like, when you, for example, if you're close to somebody, like, close to very close to somebody, and that person passes away, in your mind, this is the end. This is the end. Like, after this, there's no more life for me. My life is over. My life is over. That life will never be the same. There's no use. I won't need this. I won't need this car. I won't need this house. So maybe you were living with your wife in the house. Your wife passed away. So you say, oh no, I don't have a wife anymore. This was my life partner. There's no more life for me. I won't need this house. I'll get rid of this house. But you don't know, 4 months after the grief go away, you'll be looking for a young wife again. So you feel like your life is over. So Ibn Battuta says, after he witnessed the destruction in Baghdad, in his mind he thought there's no need to write this down because this is the end of the Muslims. The Muslims won't come back. They won't survive after this. What he thought. So there's no need to write it down. The Muslims won't survive. But there's an Urdu saying, they say, what? हर करबला के बाद दीन जिंदा होता है हर करबला के बाद दीन जिंदा होता है after every Karbala was a very, very sad time in the history of Islam. Imagine the grandson of Nabi was killed. So after every Karbala, every time Islam reaches its lowest ebb, it springs up again. It springs up again. That is the nature of Islam. So anyway, he say, I mean, just on that, okay, we'll discuss that now. So I was telling you that he said so many people there, it seems like there's no need. And yeah, it seems like this author, he was right. This author was writing this kitab more or less the time when Saddam Hussein was killed by America. So he has written the kitab. And if you look, when the Americans, they supported Iraq against Iran. So Iraq was the ally. But when they were tired of Iraq, what they done, they eventually killed Saddam Hussein. They executed him. In fact, there was a clip the other day where he's reading the Kalima. So you say, yeah, see, when the Americans executed, they used him to weaken Iraq. But when they were finished with him, when he was shot in the line with them, then they executed him. When the Americans executed Saddam Hussein and they killed him, then all the Iranians, the Shias, they were giving out mitai. They were giving out sweetmeats out of happiness. Yeah, in the Kitab, it says written that if you look throughout history, that most of the time when there was a collapse uh, for the Islamic Khilafat, you will find that the Shias were behind them. If you look at the last offensive jihad, inshallah, we'll do Kitabul Jihad. One is defensive jihad when the Kuffar attack the Muslims, right? Then they defend themselves. So for the last 300 years, the Muslims never attacked any foreign land because the Khilafat was going down all the time. So they were always on the defensive. They were trying to protect their lands. The last offensive jihad was when the Ottomans had gone to Europe, they'd gone to Vienna. They were, they were, they were they were laying siege to the city of Vienna in Hungary. This is the last time the Muslims went out to conquer you. So this is maybe 300-400 years ago in the Ottoman Empire. Here, even one of the reasons why the Ottomans had to retreat from Europe, one of the is because of the problems that the Shias were causing. They were backstabbing them. If you look at Salahuddin Ayyubi, also the conqueror of Jerusalem, the conqueror of Al-Quds, you see before he even fought the Crusaders, he first sorted out the Shias. He annihilated the Shias because he knew that with the Shias behind him, they will easily stab him from the back, right? They will easily stab him from the back. Now, Shah Anwar Kashmiri was a great muhaddith from Darul Deoband. We got a Shara on Bukhari Sharif called Faizul Bari. He's the first one that started doing in-depth studies of hadith. He got this about وأكثر تخريب الخلافة الإسلامية على أيدي هؤلاء الروافض وأكثر تخريب الخلافة الإسلامية على أيدي هؤلاء الروافض, that most of the destructions of the Islamic Khalifa was on the hands of these Rawafid, of these Shias. So the reason why this person, Al-Qama, he done all of this here was, as I told you, he wanted to remove the Sunnis and he thought that he will replace them with the Shias. And this was the Alawi Shia. Interesting, the Alawi Shia are found in Syria. You know, Bashar al-Assad and his father, they are the worst Shia. They are the ones who believe that Allah Ta'ala came into Nabi Sallallahu. Although they say now, people saying how it's true that Bashar al-Assad, he left this type of Shiism and now he's a Sunni. So his plan was try to bring the Shias in, but Halako Khan foiled his plan. He begged Halako Khan that you must put the Shia here, but no, he put his own people. So here the seat of the Muslim capital had come under the control of the Mughals. But like I told you, Har Karbala ke baad din zinda hota hai. Interesting, there was one Mughal ruler, another Mughal ruler, the third Mughal ruler accepted Islam. So, then Islam was again, Baghdad began thriving again. Baghdad began thriving again. And despite the help he got from Al-Qami, etc., he gave them no position. And he kept them like ordinary people, like slaves. So this ransacking, this looting of Baghdad is known as Fitna to Duhaima. It's known as Fitna to Duhaima, right? So uh, interesting thing I was telling you here with regard to this fitna here, that after I told you by the third generation, uh, the Mughal had become a Muslim. The rule had become, and once again, it was under the rule of the Muslims. And then, so for about 300 years, not 300, for 100 years, it was under the rule of the Mughals. And then there was another a group of the Mughals that they also ruled for a while. And then I remember I told you about the Seljuks. They are the ones who stopped the Mughals in Egypt, in Ain Jalut, when they were running ransack. Then for a while it came under their rule. And then at the same time, the Ottoman Empire was expanding. And then eventually it came under so once the Ottoman Empire flourished, the Dawlat Osmania, the Turkish Empire, but today it's okay Turkey, but it was called the Ottoman Empire. It came under the rule of the Dawlat Osmania. Then for a long time until now, what happened when we discussed this yesterday or the day before we discussed this, what happened eventually was, so then the Ottoman Empire ruled for 600 years. So basically it was, we had Nabi Sallallahu, we had the Khulafai Arba, we had the Umayyad Uthman, then we had the Abbasids, then we were in between the Abbasids, we had the Mughals that ruled Baghdad. Maybe not the whole Muslim world, other places were ruled by other people. Spain was ruled still by the Umayyads. And then we had another subgroup of the Mughals. And then we had the Seljuks. I told you these people that conquered the Mughals in Egypt at Ain Jalut. And then eventually came under the rule of the Ottoman Empire. Then You know what happened? I discussed with you then. The Ottoman Empire became weak, and the Western world becoming stronger and stronger. They began controlling the finances, the banks, and all that type of thing. So eventually, then what happened is the Ottoman Empire sided with the wrong people in World War II with the Germans. So they lost, and once they lost, then part of the agreement was they chopped up the Muslim world. And I tell you what they done is they looked at the powerful tribes in each area and they made them the rulers of that area. Like in Saudi, they made the Al Saud family, and in Jordan, they made the King Hussein's family. In Qatar, they made the Thani family, and then in Baghdad, in Iraq, that time they put another person in power. Can't remember which was, but there was another tribe was existing there. So like that, the Muslim world was chopped up into pieces. Right? Are you with me? So there you are, the whole history briefly. If you got shocked, you can read more about this. But anyway, so this was, Ulama said, a very, very sad time, dark time. Duhaima, I told you, means dark time in the history of Islam, where thousands, over 1 million people was killed, libraries destroyed, women, etc., etc. So I say that people were paralyzed for fear. That if a woman, a soldier would say, "Wait, I'm coming to kill you now," they were so paralyzed for fear that a man soldier would wait for the woman to come and kill her. Also mentioned that one lady would chase 10 Muslim people, 10 Muslim soldiers, and they would run and flee for their life because they didn't have their arms with them, and also because they were living a life of dunyawi life. That means, when you're living a luxurious dunyawi life, you fear death so much that you become a coward. So that was, let's just look at the kitab again. لا تضع أحد من هذه الأمة إلا لطمته لطمة فإذا قيل إن قضت تمادت. When he said now the fitna is come to an end, right? تمادت, it actually explains يصبح الرجل فيها مؤمنا ويمسي كافرا حتى يصير الناس على فسطاطين فسطاط إيمان لا نفاق فيه وفسطاط نفاق لا إيمان فيه وإذا كانت ذلك فانتظروا الدجال من يومه أو من غده. So what is saying here that in the kitab here, this will now be the last big fitna that will, and after that, you must wait for Qiyamah. After that, Qiyamah will come. Okay, read the next hadith. So what I was telling you that you look and you see what happens. You see the Muslims being massacred. You see the Muslims being oppressed. It is old hat. It's something that happened. But the quality of this ummah is that it has resilience. It always springs back again. It always springs back again. Anyway, read the next hadith.
النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: ويل للعبد من شر قد اقترف أفلح من كف يدا رواه أبو داود.
Okay, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن أبي هريرة أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: ويل للعرب من شر قد اقترب أفلح من كف يده رواه أبو داود. We write in authors by Abu Hurairah, he said that Nabi said, woe to the Arabs from evil, fitna, challenges, etc. قد اقترب, that has come close. قد أفلح من كف يده, and that person is successful. من كف يده is a fire. That person who has restrained his hands, he is the successful person. So as I told you, let's refer to all the different tests, the trials, the tribulations that will come, and a person who remains aloof for it. So one is you can try to pinpoint, say, instead of referring to this fitna, refer to that fitna, or better than that. Better than that is keep it general. Any fitna that come, like what you see happening now, for example, in the Arabian Peninsula, they got this crazy desire to modernize, mechanize, become westernized, music concerts, dancing, music, all that type of thing. So Nabi Sallam said, أفلح من كف يده من تشرفها استشرفه. That person who peeps towards it, it will stuck him in. So if you remain aloof from it, you stay away from it, then you will be the successful one. Okay, read the next one.
يقول إن الشاعر ومن يجنب الفتنة إن الشاعر ومن يجنب الفتنة عن السبيل ومن جنب من ابتلي فصبر سواء.
Right. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن المقداد بن الأسود قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن السعيد لمن جنب الفتنة إن السعيد لمن جنب الفتنة ولمن ابتلي فصبر فواهن رواه أبو داود. Narrated on the authority of Miqdad ibn Uswad, he said, I heard Rasulullah saying that verily a fortunate person is the one who has been saved from the fitna, the trials and tribulation. Verily a fortunate person is the one who has been saved from the trials and tribulation. That person who has been tested with it, but he made sabr, fawahan, then woe to him. Rawal Abu Dawud narrates this particular riwayat. So what the hadith is saying here is, with whatever a general, you don't take it to mean any type of fitna, anywhere, any place in the world where you got Muslims having it out, you have test tribes. If you can remain aloof from it, one is, we discussed that, one is if you have the ability to take it on and correct the matter, that's a different story. But other than that, whereby you getting involved is just going to involve, it's going to result in more fitna, more strife. So this is a general nasiyat after Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam left. But from now, remember they said, Nabi Sallallahu we done it hadith, he stood in Khaybar on one of the watchtowers and he said, I can see the fitna come, I can see the trials and I can see the tribulations coming. Nabi said, so from now till Qiyamah Day, in different points, in different degrees, at different junctures, in different places. There will be fitna, there will be strife, there will be tests, etc. And if you can remain aloof from that, that like I told you, the statement that one was it Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz made, that is the blood Allah Ta'ala has kept our lands clean from it. We were not involved. So why should we soil our tongues with it? So when Allah, if you can remain aloof, keep yourself clean from that fitna, then why? Then do that. Do not unnecessarily involve yourself in it. Next one.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا وضع السيف في أمتي ترفع عنها إلى يوم القيامة ولا تقوم الساعة حتى تلحق قبائل من أمتي بالمشركين وحتى تعبد قبائل السنة وإنه سيكون في أمتي ثلاثون كلهم يشهد أنه نبي الله وأنا خاتم النبيين لا نبي بعدي ولا تزال طائفة من أمتي على الحق ظاهرين لا يضرهم من خالفهم حتى يأتي أمر الله.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's a very interesting hadith here, a lot loaded with meaning. وعن ثوبان قال قاسم إذا وضع السيف في أمتي لا يرفع عنها إلى يوم القيامة. Okay, as we translate, let's look at the translation. Nabi Sallallahu narrated the authority of Thawban, he said, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that when the sword is, wudi'a means the place, right? But what it means here is that wudi'a sayf, when the sword is unsheathed in my ummah, lam yurfa anha ila yawm al-qiyamah, it will not be raised up until the day of Qiyamah. In other words, once the fitna starts, then there's no stop to it. Then it will come periodically or sporadically. There will always be the time, the test. Like I mentioned to you, that as Abu Bakr was solid, as Umar was solid. In fact, the next hadith, we're going to do the fitna or the test in the time of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So, إذا وضع السيف في أمتي لم يرفعنا إلى يوم القيامة. Once the sword is unsheathed, there will always be tests, there will always be trials, there will always be tribulations, always there will be something on the go. So that is the prediction of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So when you see the non-Muslims, they're ganging up against the Muslims, when you see, you can't believe, you can't understand, how is it that, I mean, they are genociding people, people are being starved, people are being brutalized, they're being massacred, they're being slaughtered, but nobody can say anything. Well, Nabi Sallallahu spoke about that. He said, look, this is the characteristic of the kuffar. This is the character of the Quran. They won't care, they don't worry. And throughout history, we'll see that. So once it starts, it will not end, right? لم يرفعنا إلى يوم القيامة. This is ولا تقوم الساعة حتى تلحق قبائل من أمتي بالمشركين. Then he says, but look here, the final hour will not come until tribes from my ummah, they will join with the mushrikeen. Now, if you look at what is happening now in Gaza, for example, if you look at all the major Muslim countries, who are they supporting? Who are they supporting? They outwardly they're making a big noise, but they are still supplying arms, they're supplying food, they are supplying fuel to the Zionists. And if you look recently, there was something called the Abrahamic Accords, where they want to create unity and foster and say all the religions of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Christianity, Judaism, Islam is all the same. If you look at in the UAE recently, They built a big, what you say, place of worship that is supposed to accommodate all the Abrahamic religions. And even so, there in UAE, which is now part of the Hijaz, the Holy Land, that the Sahaba Ikram has shed their blood for. Recently, there's also a church built, it's huge, funded by the Muslim government, spent millions of dollars or millions of what you call it, dirhams for the construction of those idols and all that type of thing, right? And I was seeing here also that even in Saudi Arabia, they want to now promote their tourism culture. So they were reconstructing some of the idols of Jahiliyyah. So it's tourism. Is it right? حتى تلحق قبائل من أمتي بالمشركين. See there? وحتى تعبد قبائل من أمتي الأوثان. Until tribes from my ummah, they will worship the idol. So see, idol worship is going to be back, right? وأنه سيكون في أمتين, and verily there will be from amongst my ummah كذابون ثلاثون. There will be 30 liars, imposters. كلهم يزعم أنه نبي الله. Everyone will claim that he is a Nabi. So in the time of Nabi Sallallahu himself, remember Mustailamatul Kadhab, just to the latter part of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the fitna started. Nabi Sallallahu didn't really have a chance to sort these people out because it happened to the latter part of his life. And before he could really pay attention to it, he passed away. Then as Abu Bakr came and he sorted him out. So yeah, there will be 13. So throughout the ages, there was in the time of Nabi Sallallahu, there was Musailatul Kadhab, there was Aswad al-Anasi, and there was another lady also that if you read the books of Hazrat Abu Bakr, the history of Hazrat Abu Bakr, I tell you, with Salabi, you get all these details. Other people, there's a lady also that claimed prophethood anyway, right, in the time of Hazrat Abu Bakr, and Hazrat Abu Bakr destroyed them all, right? So yes, Abu Annahu Nabiullah. And she, yeah, Tulayha, yeah, correct. Where you heard about it? Right. وَأَنَا خَاتَمُ النَّبِيِّينَ. And Nabi Sallallahu said, I am the last of prophets. I don't know if you saw, you follow the news recently. There's a person by the name of Fathullah Gulen. He passed away. He was also from a Turkish. He was like a Turkish scholar. So normally our ulama speak about out against him. So he claimed also, he never claimed openly that he gets nubuwwat. He's not a Nabi. But they say he claimed he gets inspiration from, he gets a type of wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why our ulama also spoke out against him. But anyway, the hadith is clear, emphatic. وَأَنَا خَاتَمُ النَّبِيِّينَ لَا نَبِيَّ بَعْدِي. Then the hadith goes on, وَلَا تَزَالُ طَائِفَةٌ مِنْ أُمَّتِي الْحَقِّ. There will always be a group from my ummah that will be on haqq. ظَاهِرِينَ, apparent. So no matter what the condition of the ummah will be, even if it will reach its lowest ebb, but always throughout history, there will be a group that will not yield. There will be a group that will not submit to the kuffar. There will always be a group that will not yield to the mushrikeen. There will always be on haqq, fighting them physically and fighting them intellectually, fighting them theoretically. Always there will be. So that the people that want to be on the truth, they will always right. So it could refer to physically fighting him or intellectually, theoretically. لا تزال الطائفة من على الحق ظاهرين لا يضرهم من خالفهم. Then من خالفهم is a file. Those who oppose him will not harm them. In other words, they will not submit to their pressure. They will not yield to their pressure. They will remain firm, steadfast. And if you look at today, if you look at the people of Gaza, how they're fighting, they're not yielding, they're not capitulating. It reminds you of this hadith. لا يضر من خالفهم حتى يأتي أمر الله, until the command of Allah Ta'ala come. And here this could mean until the command of help, the help of Allah Ta'ala come. So yes, you will be tested, you will be trialed, you will be brutalized, but eventually the help of Allah Ta'ala will come. I was telling you that, that in Afghanistan, the Taliban sent a message to the people of Gaza, to Hamas, said, look here, yes, they will bomb you, they will destroy you, they will decimate you, but not lose heart that we went exactly to do the same thing. In fact, we lost 1 million, over 1 million. They killed over 1 million people. They bombed innocent people. When they can't get the mujahideen, they take out their frustration on the innocent civilians. So do not become disheartened by them, by what's happening. You have to be sabr. We persevered for 23 years. We persevered for 23 years. They killed millions of us, but eventually, hatta ya'tiya amrullah, eventually command of help of Allah حتى إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح. Eventually the command of the help of Allah came. So it will come. You have to be, you have to persevere. You have to remain first, steadfast. صابروا ورابطوا. You must have faith in Allah Ta'ala and it will come. So thus we stop there. We will continue with the tafsir inshallah.